Thank you all for coming. Welcome to. Are you going to do a lead-in? Is the show or something?
Oh, Joe said let Ronnie talk.
I'm talking. Okay, well, run the podcast people too. I'm taking over.
All right, you want to lead it? All right.
Episode 4.
Episode 4, Mantic North America. Johnny B here, Chopper Pat, roving reporter in the audience.
Good evening, folks.
Joe Neat, the man of the hour, Ronnie Renton.
Hello, everybody.
This episode is Come Blaze Away. All right, Ronnie, why don't you kick it off?
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome. We've had a fantastic time at Adepticon the last 3 days. I'm flying out of the USA in about 45 minutes, which is very exciting. It's been a splendid week. Thank you for making me feel so welcome. And it's just wonderful to see this community growing and growing and growing. And we've been getting some requests to kind of do some Mantic open days, and we're not quite a full open day, but we've got a Mantic open night. So I think later on everyone's staying behind, playing some great big battles, Kings of War, Deadzone, Dreadball. They're going to carry on the show as soon as I've gone. So without any further ado, if you've got any questions, fire them up here and I'll try and answer them as best I can.
Pat?
I'm worried already.
I don't know the name of the specific Dreadball team. There's one that's an insect-based team.
Zone.
Are you going to be looking at that team at an army level? And if so, is it fairly quick in the queue, or is it going to be further back in the queue for Pathfinder?
Yeah, so there's two. I mean, I think everybody knows we might currently be having a little bit of a Deadzone Kickstarter action. And that's where we're introducing the rats. Yes. So the vermin are appearing, and we're thinking of a name that they would call themselves. We're thinking of an army name for them yet. That the corporation might call them vermin. What would they call themselves? So any ideas, please jump on Facebook and find them up there. I think what we're then going to try and do is complete out the armies we've got. If the Kickstarter runs on, we're going to look at mercenaries. They're going to be added to every faction, because there's some great things that have come out of Dreadball Extreme. Some really interesting races that we don't think can carry a full army, but definitely could be mercenary units.
Got it.
If the Kickstarter goes far enough and there's enough of those mercenary units, then we'll look at making the mercenaries their own faction. Maybe it's Blaine as a leader, one or two of the other characters would be fantastic, they could lead them up. There's two races that we're not going to touch just yet. One of them, Zor, they've been announced, they are absolutely insects, they're a threat to the, to the GPS, and Corporation. For a couple of reasons. A, we want to make sure the armies we've got get the attention they need in terms of vehicles, heroes, specialists, they play style. They've got 4 or 5 plastic core units and elites, everything they really need to be real feel meaty, both in Deadzone and then later in Warpath. And if we spread ourselves across too many armies, all of them are kind of half done.
Got it.
You can see the enforcers. I also think there's a huge story with the Zor. I think we can write a really big backstory. Introduce them, and they're a good Dreadball team. It's a kind of slightly tongue-in-cheek Zor playing Dreadball. It's kind of fun, but actually these are going to be a serious threat. And I think doing them properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see huge potential.
Yeah, and they've not even started yet. So I think there's a real opportunity there to leave a big story arc. At some point when we're a bit bigger, and it could be a Warpath Deadzone combined launch, where we could just go and put the whole thing together and focus on them. And obviously with the whole kind of Starship Troopers angle, fighting against the Corporation in those battle bases will be great fun, and it's an obvious place that people could look at and understand. And if we're recruiting people in, I think it'd be a good time to look at that. So we're purposely saving them. We've got Forge Fathers, Asterians, we've got Plague, we've got Rebs, we've got Enforcers. Have I missed one?
Marauders.
Marauders?
Nah.
No. Yeah. We're all hating out there. So there's plenty of great factions to really go at.
Any other questions?
Hello.
Hi.
Is there any interest in expanding the Warpath universe fiction through like novels, other properties and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've actually got we've wanted to do this for a while. Always, I think novels are a great way, and we've always focused on background, and it's busy, we've not done quite enough of it. I mean, I'd like to launch units and armies simply by, there's the background, here's the pictures. And I think in some of the, in the Kickstarter, you can see that we lead with images of them in shot and in photograph. And we tried to do a novel with Kings of War when we first did it, and it was really hard to get it on message. And then we did Containment Protocol, which was the short stories. Who's read that, by the way? Okay, yeah, good. Enjoy it? Who liked it? Who hated it? Anyone didn't like it?
I'm not a good judge of quality, but I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I think it's readable, it gave an insight. I can certainly remember a few of the stories now, they're stuck with me, you know. So it was good fun, and we're able to edit that. We can't do novels. A professional author who has a publishing house has approached us. A guy called Vox Day. He goes under several other names as well, and we're just about to sign a contract.
Foxman.
Question, that's his name. Foxman.
Foxman. And he's looking at a contract to take 3 novels on. One of them's going to be Dreadball and some of the other things with professional, good writing authors that are going to work with us in the background, and I really hope that they're going to hit in the next few months. So we're going to move that up a level because it's something I'd love to do.
Any other questions?
And if not, I can talk, don't worry about that.
I have a question about Kings of War specifically, with another company that won't be named, transitioning to something 9th edition which may alienate some of its core audience. Is there a concerted effort to lure them away with perhaps armies that are no longer be available for that game system that shall not be named?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things coming here. I mean, I'm really, firstly, Kings of War was the first product we did. I think it's had a lot of tooling and it's really got some momentum, and having 18 people for the Kings of War tournament a couple of days ago was immense. I mean, I think Mike has single-handedly kind of brought Kings of War to these shores, but we've had, you know, hobby companies get stronger every day that they stay alive, and it's hard enough to do that, you know, and we're now getting to the place where people can turn to a tournament and start finding partners and to play against and gaming partners. And have you ever read the book Tipping Point, where things go to a certain point and then they move and go faster and then go again? And I'm really hoping, and it deserves to be, because Kings of War is a great game, that we're going to kind of find a tipping point, and suddenly people that have been resistant start trying it. And you guys are all the pioneers and the Pathfinders, though you are the people that were brave enough to not only come in and back us, but then follow up and game and come to shows and not be doing what everyone else is doing. You know, you walk in the road less travelled, and our backers across the world that have done that have allowed us to get to this position. Unfortunately, we put out the beta rules yesterday for Kings of War, and today everybody hates us. Everything's ruined. I've destroyed everything. So I'm hoping,
I like it.
yeah, and I'm hoping as people play, a lot of clever people that have experienced in both rules writing and have played a lot of Kings of War, they can see what they've done. They will have made mistakes, of course. No one's human and infallible, and the reason we put it out is so that we can discover those, get some feedback. But our initial response whenever you see your own army nerfed or changed is, God damn it, you ruined it. And then you play it and you go, oh, but you did that to them, and then that's there, and there's been quite a lot of debate on Facebook. So come on, just have a look. Because if we don't get it right now, we're never going to get a better chance to get Kings of War absolutely right. Why was there 30s and hordes of 60? Because that's how many were on the sprue. And we couldn't get 20 because there was three on the sprue, so it's 21. So we went, oh, we'll go 30 then. Maybe we buy a few more soldiers. And, you know, we were poor and we needed the money. Now we're saying, look, it's 10, it's 20, it's 40. That's what it is. Let's try and get it there. So as long as we've not broken Kings of War, I don't think we have. I think there's a few snags that we'll work out. We'll do that, we'll get the feedback, then we'll put it into a professional editor to really full stop and capital letters, and then it can go off the print. Later this year, what I'm thinking is, let's get that being played, let's get people enjoying it, and then let's put a book out that is every other army. So Kings of War's our IP, they're our armies, and they're going to develop in our own way. And then here's a book for if you play Romans, Spartans, Rat Men, Lizard Men, the type of armies that aren't currently in our IP, and we don't just want to do them in our IP. So the Twilight King is a race we will do, but we've currently not got any plans to do them. There is other people with pointy-eared, evil elf sorts So you know what? Here's a list, and there's a few very few with our Twilight kit. There were the conversions from the metal, yeah. But there's probably a lot more that have other companies' manufacturers, and we'll say, look, there's your list. Come play Kings of War. Bring your soldiers with you. Come and play, because we're about playing, we're about gaming, we're about freedom, about liberty. You know.
American.
God damn it! Can I show my underpants now?
The wrong America.
Oh, sorry, that was the Stars and Stripes. That's what I was saying.
That's getting graphic.
So yeah, and I'm really excited for Kings of War. I mean, I am, after 5 years, I'm finally painting my dwarf army. And so I think that's, 5 years now. So it's kind of embarrassing, but it takes that long, doesn't it? Hobbies take time. It was mean to do it, you get around to do it. I've been using the painting oaths, and that's been nudging me on. And I'm also doing my terrain for Deadzone, because I just love doing that, so I keep splitting my time. But I will have an army ready for the launch. And then we're going to get together. One of the best battles I ever played was against John Stallard, who runs Warlord Games. Back in the day, he got all his goblins, I got all my dwarves, and we fought on the Siege of Antioch Plains. Took about 3 days, a whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, some Sunday, and then back a week later. We're going to do that. I'm going to do the same battle with a load of Kings of War guys in the UK. I'm going to get all my dwarves, have my Mantic ones as my central army, have the Mantic Studio ones as my right flank, and I'm going to use my old Warhammer figures as my left flank. And I'm going to say this is, you know, there's 600-700 dwarves, all painted up with the same bases. Maybe a couple of other people coming along, so it really looks epic. Here's an undead guy, there's Morgoth. Let's write some backstory. But the great thing is, we're playing 6 hours tops with as many thousand troops. It's going to look brilliant, and I'm just excited by that hobby. And you know, yeah, great, they're nice minis. I collected them up, I painted them, use them. And I think if that message gets out this year to a lot of people that could be really upset, I think they could look at our community, and there's enough advocates around the place now that say, no, it's a great game, come and try it. We've got those free Kings of War rules, the free rules will be downloaded, come give it a try. That, Dungeon Saga, Mantic is going to start kicking off.
More questions?
If you shout it out, I can repeat it.
I can just shout. I know you've got Mantic has Pathfinders, quote unquote, which are kind of like champions for the game and things like that. I personally don't know how organized that is. How organized is it? Is it going to continue to be organized? Are you going to organize it more? And do you really feel that it's of value? And what kind of value does it have to have, you know, a person be a volunteer champion of the games, or do you feel that everybody should kind of be Pathfinder?
Correct.
How do you view that kind of thing?
So I think there's two things, and so Pat runs it, so it's not organised at all.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, the question was, Pathfinders, you know, what are they, what's the scheme, and is it valid? And are they champions of the product? My own view is that you guys are the champions of the product. Anybody that will come up and stand up and talk about what we're doing is the champions, and you are the leaders. As you guys take it back to your clubs and talk about it, other people follow, and you can see with Dreadball, that's starting to happen, there's tournaments popping up all around the country and the world, and I can't do it. With our staff, we've got 22 people. We cannot rule the world with 22 people. We cannot change the world. Everybody and every effort that people make is what is going to happen, and we will be a community-led company. And it's been led through people giving us their money and their faith to produce products. And I think the next phase is people take it on, and one day I want to walk into that Adepticon hall and see 200 people playing Kings of War. I would like to see 3 different types of Dreadball tournaments being played with different, you know, teams at so 3 different teams, and then the team choice is part of the decision. Wow, wouldn't that be fantastic? So my own view is that everybody is a Pathfinder. Everybody are the champions, and if you help us, that's how we will grow, and that's how we'll build a community. Occasionally we ask people to turn up and do truly inhuman things, like run demos for 7 hours, standing by the side of the corner of our stand, and the same 5 minutes of a game, hour after hour after hour. And so what we've said is, you know, Pat, you need a load of those. They need to be able to run demos, because we need to get through 200 demos over these 4 days, so that 100 people buy the games, and then 100 people go back and start running events in their stores. So I really want the community to pick it up. I want them to run the websites. I want them to run the rules committees. They've been involved in Kings of War already. You know, we are a community-led. Our job is to try and harness it and work with you on it. But there is times that we need people to go into a store and run demos, to come to events and run demos. The game that I asked him to make was very narrative, wow sculpts, and it's not an enforcer with needle gun. It is Bob, who is this guy, and this guy fights that way. And this other guy with this guy has a cigar coming out, and they're almost named characters, almost like, you know, in Dungeon Saga. It's not a dwarf hero, it's, I'm going to say it's not real because that's the barbarian, but you know, they're named, that model is him or her. And I thought that could have been quite good fun, that they're almost named characters that you play, and therefore you've got to get equipment, and those characters scale up and scale down. As you know, the Kickstarter went slightly larger than we planned. And then slightly larger again, and a bit more larger, and a whole load larger. And we ended up funding out the whole range of products that we kind of planned over the 3 years, and we made a few up. We got all the terrain done. And so when the game came out, there was that little less character. It was more squad-based. It was more, you know, there's an enforcer with the heavy rifle. So there was a slight disconnect between the number of troops and how they were seen and the detail that was there in the game. So things like missions. If you've got 5 guys, quite quickly they just kill the other guy, will become quite boring. But if you've got 5 guys and you're trying to run around and do a very narrative campaign, you don't take a lot of damage. The injuries, as you know, they're quite hard to put stuff down in Deadzone. So there was just that little disconnect, and I think that's what we're going to try and correct with this book, is just clean it through and comb it through so that the number of figures and the complexity are lined up. Because, you know, the Teraton, 3 dice, it's a brawler, so he gets another dice. Or should it just be the Teraton has 4 attacks? There's a stat, look it up, it's 4. And so that's just where there's too much just looking back and forth. And that's partly me telling Jake, it's partly Jake taking that on and writing it, it's partly the Kickstarter went big, and all of those things coming together. They only need to be a tiny little bit out, and it just feels a little bit snaggy. And I think that's where we've got with that game. It was a brand new game from scratch, you know, with a lot of new factions added and everything else. I tickle my chin again.
In Deadzone, will the revs get better?
Almost certainly. What we're going to have a chance to do is, and most importantly with this, is to rebalance everything. We'll look at everything, look at how they play, and make sure that when we get the 2nd edition out, all factions and all units in the factions are valid. And I think we'll be coming out to everybody to say, you know, should we go to stat lines, or should we stay with what we've got but simplify down the numbers and choices and how they're presented, so you can just know brawler equals +1 dice. And do we do that, or do we just change a few things around? But yeah, definitely everything will be able to get lined up.
Hey Ronnie, there's a rumor going around that Deadzone is going to get rid of the battle cards. Is there any validity to that, or?
Well, I think the things I think we will definitely try and get rid of is the stat card, because when you were going to have Bob, the guy with a heavy weapon, you know, the kind of Schaefer's Last Chancer, really characterful, you want a picture, you want quite complex stat line and all the information on it. You haven't got that. It's actually a relatively straightforward card. There's loads of space on it. You can actually have that on a few pages of book, pick what you're doing and put them on a roster sheet. And then you've written your own stuff out. It's really clear. It's like that and I think that can go there. The cards is very relaxed, whichever way you want to go. I mean, I think there's a lot of buff and counter buff. I always think the cards should be cleverer than that. The ones I quite like are the ones in, I wouldn't do this for Deadzone, I like it for Mars Attacks because it's irreverent, but Burning Cows. I would have done a lot more cards like that, where you'd go, shuffle these in, there's Burning Cows, there's, at some point, you know, movement rays, transportation rays, so anything on the battlefield that's got this moves 2 squares to the left. You know, and that's what I've done with that game, because I just kept it so totally random that you as much as you're planning, the cards you're playing against the cards. Now, I wouldn't do that in Deadzone. I would do something far more tactical and far more strategic. But rather than just buffing attacks or giving you a move, I think maybe a command roles or something like that that really allow you to put combinations together could be really interesting. So when we do it, we'll put it out there and everyone will rage quit and then they'll play it and hopefully we'll have a good debate. But I think I would like to do a few more things that take this and give you, you know what, I like the Saga kind of dice and I like some of the bolt tactic dice and some of those things, and I always loved command where you get that. So everything's going to get looked at. We're not going to revolutionise everything. There's a lot of fans of this game. We're going to talk to them about it. What we're going to make sure is it is absolutely right, it's balanced, we've taken out the errors, and we can literally say, got two ways, play them both. You got the old way, you know what it is, here's another way, do you like it more or less? Does it get there? Because you know, there's a small, passionate community, you can have a good dialogue with them. I want to make it a large, passionate community. And anything that speeds it up. I mean, the real principle, I think, with Deadzone is it's not easy enough to get into. You go and let you know, you guys had a game last year, you're back here this year. Congratulations on your Deadzone tournament win.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, however you won, we're changing everything. So.
Let me know now so I can prepare for next year.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Coach,
so
you can actually get rid of cards. You can just throw yours away.
Okay.
If you want to get rid of them, throw them away.
So yeah, let's just look at it, make sure it's just better and slicker and just stays the fun. It's what it's going to be. You know, we wrote it the first time right. This time we get to write it better.
If we promise to pledge a lot for this Kickstarter, can we get some hard plastic vehicles?
Well, one of the things that I'm planning on doing with this Kickstarter is skirmish games about minis. What I'm trying to do is, because Warpath and Deadzone are symbiotic, we're obviously introducing vermin, Pathfinders, Pathfinder bikes, jet bikes, ooh, I don't know if I say that, huge big rats, all in hard plastic. This is a rustic free zone. We've heard what you're saying about that. That's all hard plastic. We've got the new scenery to expand that and the accessories. But already we've chunked through a big pile of that stuff. We're going to put some mercenaries in, some really nice, interesting metal figures that can act as both three-man squads and Warpath, but really add colour and variety to Deadzone, which I think is what it's about. If we go past there, we'll start looking at Forge Father Steel Warriors maybe. We'll look at Asterian clones. Suddenly you're looking at the Forge Fathers with a couple of sprues, you're looking at Enforcers with 4 sprues, you're looking at Rats with 2, you're looking at... So there's a lot of infantry that are there. And then when we do Warpath, we can start with vehicles. And by vehicles I'm talking, we've got a concept sketch of a very big dropship for the Enforcers already. So tank-sized kits, with then varieties to tool it up in different ways. So it's going to have a drop pod, a heavy weapon underneath, and I want to pair it back so it's almost like a fighter. And then you can get, because I think if we're going to play a sci-fi war game, it needs vehicles. It needs vehicles. I can tell you that Matt Gilbert, who is a passionate Kings of War player, has got his hands on the game that I played a while ago, and it was good. And he's played twice a week for the last 4 weeks, and he can't stop playing. So hopefully that's a good sign. And it's going to be about grabbing the buildings, and then you're going to try and get the other guys out of the buildings. So you can have, and when they're in the building, they're in the building. You know, that's what futuristic modern warfare is all about, is tactical positioning on the battlefield, and then you're going to support it, you're going to hold it, how are you going to be there, what are they going to do to blow you out of it. You do with howitzers, put damage on you. There's going to be kind of 2 levels of damage. Damage that wounds you and takes bases off. So you just take hold of it, you get past it, the base comes off. Or 5 fingers. You don't have to base them up if you don't want to, it's just convenient. And also suppression points. And this is the more you're getting hammered, the more likely you are to go to ground. And then you can either lose some, or you can like regroup and take all that away, but you've lost a turn. So that's that speed and that movement. So there's some really exciting stuff happening. I don't think we'll go as far in this Kickstarter as that, but you guys constantly surprise me, so you know, who knows. But for sure, we're going to get to a place that's where we start the next one with.
All All right, we got time for one more question. Remember, if you're hammered, you will go to ground quite quickly. If you're hammered, some people this weekend were. Is that fake?
Perfect.
So with Dungeon Saga, is there still plans for a fantasy skirmish game? And how far off is it? Or do you have any concerns about having too many lines and not losing focus on anything there?
Yeah, and that's where I've come out and said we did Mars Attacks a little bit left field. But if you look at all the Kickstarters we've just done, Kings of War was for 2, Deadzone is for 2, which is also putting down the bedrock for Warpath. We have the only other Kickstarter we've got planned is Warpath, and that might be towards the end of this year. There's an opportunity to do maybe something mad and crazy, but it will be relatively small in terms of spend, and it's only an if. So I think I'd love to do a Warhammer skirmish game, and I think it's miles away. It's comfortably next year. I think we've got more than we can cope with in terms of getting Kings of War made. Dungeon Saga was a great little Kickstarter. It was a good one because it was 6,000 backers, our biggest number of backers ever, by a long way. Nearly 50% up on Deadzone. And nearly the same amount of cash because a lot more people spread it out. So the great thing about Dungeon Saga is we are a miniatures company, and that takes a long time and a lot of work and a lot of effort, and we are not going to drift into the board game market in the same way as we don't make board games. I don't make Cluedo or some of those guys. Or games of miniatures. But I'm seeing Dungeon Saga in 2 ways. I see it both as a Trojan horse for people that have never played a Mantic game or never even maybe played with toy soldiers and pick it up. And those that have played with toy soldiers but fondly remember Hero Quest and remember some of those great games, the kind of Space Hulk PvP or Hero Quest adventure game, they can try it. And I think when people try Mantic, they like it. It's getting them to try it that's hard. So it's a relatively narrow product range. There's only 4 or 5 things in it, the game plus 3 or 4. Kings of War, we tool more in Kings of War on one army than we do for the whole of Dungeon Saga type thing. So I think we've got to be careful we don't spread ourselves too thin, but I don't think we're going to do it, because if you look at the last few Kickstarters we've done that have all been building the Warpath or the Mantic universe, all of them have been set in that setting in different ways of looking at the story. Deadzone going in close, Dungeon Saga going in close, Mantic, Kings of War, huge battles, Warpath, huge battles. But your miniatures cross over. I think people are getting to that scale. Watch out for the next couple of weeks. We have a huge and very exciting announcement to make about Dungeon Saga. The miniatures are wonderful. The tile art is fantastic. It's a lovely thick card. We've got the clippers. It's very, very funny because the studio manager spent 2 months and thousands of pounds getting all of the miniatures sculpted. And people come in and go, oh, that's nice, that's really nice, that's nice. He got a 3D designer to design all the furniture in about 2 or 3 days because it's all straight lines and some detail on it. Everybody walks in and goes, doors! Oh, fantastic! Tables, brilliant! Yeah, wow! Oh, bookcase! Look at the books, bookcase! So there we are. So that's all in the box, and he just kind of goes, oh god. The rulebook has got a professionally written getting started guide from someone who'd not seen the rules. So we wrote the rules, got them to edit it, and in editing it, then said, now write independently how to get playing. And we've got scenario books, as you know, that as your characters scale up, they get more stuff. What they find at the end of one adventure, they use at the beginning of the next. The thing was, I didn't think any of that was going to mark us out on the high street from something different than everything else is. So for every backer, there's a very big surprise coming. It's a thank you for backing us, and we've done something really pretty exciting with the box. The advantage of that is that the high street will also benefit from this, because I think when it's in retail, people will look at it, pick it up, and start wanting to do it. And when we turn the microphones off, I might tell you what it is.
All right, let's thank Ronnie for doing a Q and A here at Adepticon.